So, Act 4. Wow, what an act. And it is here, let me remind you, that José's descent from being a good soldier, a good son, and a guy who's ready to marry the 16-year-old blonde intended that his mother sends him, goes to being a psychotic murderer of the woman he is possessed with because he cannot have her. She has moved on. And it's also at this point that Carmen's ascent occurs. She is now in the public eye, the lover of the most famous man in Spain. So the crossover in Act 4, when these two characters, one in descent, one in ascent, is just charged and very powerful. So, what happens in Act 4? Well, as usual in an opera, we return to the scene of the crime. We come back to the scene of Act 1, seen from a different angle, I agree, and we're outside the great arena, the great bullfight arena in Seville. Now, we begin the same way we began Act 1, with exposition, local color, a crowd scene, everybody's there. And then we go to a march into the great arena. And of course, the star of this march is Escamillo. He has a brief little duet with Carmen in which they declare their undying love for each other. There's a little change here, you might say. Let us say this is a month later. Let's say that there's a month between Act 2 and Act 1 and Act 2, a month. Between Act 2 and Act 3, and another month between Act 3 and Act 4. It would not be unrealistic to see it that way. So the first part of the act, we find out, it's a little mini exposition. We find out where Carmen is in her relationship to Escamillo. And we also find out that Frasquita and Mercedes are very worried about Carmen. They've heard that José is lowering around, skulking around the city, looking for her, that his mother has died, and he is free, and he has come back for Carmen. Carmen says she doesn't care. She's not afraid of him. We saw in Act 3 that she is fatalistic, that if he's going to kill her, she won't run from him. She will stay. Je suis brave, I am brave. I won't run from you, you coward, she says to him. So José enters, and we see this final dance of death in this magnificent duet. Now, this is such a profound scene. While Escamillo is inside the bull ring, fighting a bull and making the bull the victim, at the same time, José is outside making Carmen his victim. So the sacrificial animal, in both cases, there are two ceremonies going on at once, one public, one private, equally violent and terrible. It is truly a dance of death, and such magnificent, exciting music as these two off stage and on stage, these two dramas are played out. If you see this in a film form, for example, the Rosas film, with Plácido Domingo and Julia McGinnis-Johnson, you will see this perfectly illustrated. These two ceremonies, violent ceremonies which lead to death. This is the ultimate denouement. As José falls down, as you might say, to hell, he reaches up and snatches Carmen and drags her with him, leaving Escamillo, Micael, and their friends and acquaintances with nothing at the end. And ironically, the last thing José sings to us is, Carmen, I adore you, as he collapses on her body, having stabbed her. And so it ends. This interplay of passion and violence. How something so profoundly sad and sadly violent could be so beautiful. It makes you very glad that it's just a story, doesn't it? And hopefully this didn't really happen.